Welcome to the Declassified Files. I'm your host, Ben Carter. In the hallowed halls of power, where decisions of life and death are made, there exists an underbelly of secrets, lies, and manipulations. Operation Northwoods was one such secret, nestled in the annals of America's Cold War history. One that, had it been executed, could have changed the course of those tumultuous times and rewritten the annals of American history forever. The year was 1962. The United States was locked in a bitter Cold War with the Soviet Union. Tensions were high, and the threat of nuclear war loomed large. The island of Cuba, under Fidel Castro's communist rule, had become a boiling point of contention. The U.S., desperate to oust Castro, was exploring all options. It was in this cauldron of conflict that Operation Northwoods was conceived. It was a plan of shocking audacity, born from the inner sanctum of the Pentagon. The idea? To stage a series of horrifying false flag attacks on American soil, leaving the public reeling and the government with a justification for war against Cuba. The proposal included plans for bombing campaigns, hijackings, and even orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. The goal? To create a tide of public outrage and fear, a cry for retribution that would permit a full-scale invasion of Cuba. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of Operation Northwoods was the calculated willingness to sacrifice American lives for political ends. It was a plan that, on paper, treated citizens as expendable pawns in a deadly game of Cold War chess. The proposal was presented to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. However, it never got the necessary approval. President Kennedy, shocked by the proposal, rejected it outright. He later removed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Lyman Lemnitzer, possibly due to his role in the proposal. Decades later, this chilling proposal was unveiled to the public, not as a shocking exposé by an investigative journalist or a whistleblower, but through a routine declassification of documents related to the JFK assassination. The revelation sent ripples of disbelief and horror through the public and raised questions about the lengths to which governments might go to achieve their objectives. Operation Northwoods stands as a stark reminder of the dark machinations that can exist behind the scenes of geopolitical power plays. Its existence poses troubling questions about the sanctity of truth in times of crisis and the ethical boundaries that can be blurred in the name of national security. As we delve deeper into this story, remember that the world of secrets is often stranger and more terrifying than fiction. In the next segment, we'll explore how the proposal was developed and who were the key players in its conception. Operation Northwoods was conceived in the crucible of Cold War paranoia and tension. The 1960s were a tumultuous era defined by the nuclear arms race, ideological conflict, and geopolitical rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. At the heart of this tension was the small island nation of Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. In 1959, Fidel Castro's socialist revolution had overthrown the U.S.-backed Batista regime, turning Cuba into a communist outpost in America's backyard. This was a significant blow to American prestige and posed a potential security threat. By 1961, relations between Cuba and the U.S. had soured dramatically, culminating in the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion, a covert operation to overthrow Castro that had ended in humiliating failure for the U.S. This context paved the way for Operation Northwoods. The plan was orchestrated as a response to the perceived threat of Castro's Cuba and the wider ideological foe of communism. The proposal was developed by the Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military officers in the U.S. military who serve as the principal military advisors to the President. Among the key figures involved were General Lyman Lemnitzer, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and his close associate, General Edward Lansdale, a figure notorious for his hardline anti-communist stance and involvement in covert operations during the era. The origins of the plan were cloaked in secrecy, a testament to the covert nature of Cold War-era strategies. Even within the confines of top-level security clearance, the proposal was known only to a select few, and for good reason, as its contents presented a startling departure from conventional military and political ethics. However, Operation Northwoods would remain hidden from public view for nearly 4 decades, a mystery buried deep within the annals of classified information. It was only in 1997, during the release of documents by the Assassination Records Review Board, an agency created to collect evidence related to Kennedy's assassination, that the Northwoods proposal surfaced. The release was part of a routine declassification process, a move towards greater transparency in the aftermath of the Cold War. Yet no one anticipated the shocking revelation that was about to unfold. The unearthing of Operation Northwoods sparked outrage and disbelief, raising uncomfortable questions about the ethical boundaries of national security and the shadowy depths of government secrecy. It was a chilling testament to the lengths that the powers that be were willing to go in pursuit of their objectives. Even today, its implications continue to reverberate, challenging our perceptions of truth and power in the complex arena of global politics. The disclosure of Operation Northwoods was not the result of a hard-nosed investigative journalist, nor a conscientious whistleblower. Rather, it was the byproduct of a routine declassification process. The document was quietly released among a mass of other classified papers by the Assassination Records Review Board, an agency established to collect and review evidence related to the Kennedy assassination. The declassification of this chilling proposal was not the main event, but a footnote. It was a needle in a haystack of information, an overlooked detail in a sea of data. The initial discovery itself was credited to an investigative journalist named James Bamford, who came across the document while researching for his book on the National Security Agency. Bamford was astounded by the contents of the document and quickly published his findings in his book, Body of Secrets. The revelation sent shockwaves through the public and the media. The thought that the U.S. government could consider such a plan was beyond comprehension for many. The reaction to the disclosure of Operation Northwoods was a mix of disbelief, outrage, and horror. To many, it was a direct contradiction to the principles upon which the United States was founded. Some called for further investigations, while others speculated about what else could be hidden in the depths of classified documents. The government response was largely subdued. There was no official comment from the Department of Defense or from any of the individuals named in the document. The silence was telling. It was as if the powers that be were hoping that the storm would blow over, that the public would move on to the next scandal. But the release of Operation Northwoods had far-reaching implications. It served as a chilling reminder that the pursuit of national security could potentially overstep ethical boundaries. It highlighted the importance of transparency in government, and the need for checks and balances in the exercise of power. The release of the Operation Northwoods proposal also sparked renewed interest in other false flag operations. Scholars, historians, and conspiracy theorists began to re-examine historical events, looking for signs of manipulation or deceit. The incident underscored the need for vigilance, for a discerning and questioning public, and for a free and independent press. And even now, years after its release, Operation Northwoods continues to serve as a stark reminder of the lengths to which governments may go in the name of national security. It is a cautionary tale, a piece of history that must not be forgotten. Its legacy is a testament to the importance of transparency, accountability, and ethical considerations in the realm of national security and beyond. The details and names mentioned in the Operation Northwoods document reveal a complex web of military and government figures involved in its conception and proposal. The document was signed off by Lyman Lewis Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time. Born in 1899, Lemnitzer had a distinguished military career that spanned both World Wars and the Korean War before he ascended to the top military post in the country. As chairman, he was the primary military advisor to both the President and the Secretary of Defense. In this role, Lemnitzer was responsible for the strategic direction of the U.S. Armed Forces. The document was also addressed to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, who served under President Kennedy. McNamara, a former president of Ford Motor Company, was a key figure in the Kennedy administration, instrumental in shaping U.S. military policy during the height of the Cold War. The chain of command implied in the document points towards the highest echelons of power. It's not explicitly stated, but the implication is that the president himself would have had to approve the operation for it to proceed. The Operation Northwoods document was also linked to the Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military officers from each of the 4 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. These organizations played a key role in the planning and execution of U.S. military operations. Their involvement in the proposal underscores its gravity and the level of strategic consideration behind it. There was also a potential role for the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and other intelligence agencies, given the covert nature of the proposed actions. However, their explicit involvement is not detailed in the document. The agenda of these individuals and organizations was clear: to create a pretext for military intervention in Cuba. This was a time when the threat of communism seemed to loom large, and drastic measures were on the table. However, the Operation Northwoods proposal did not proceed. President Kennedy rejected the plan, and Lemnitzer was subsequently removed from his position as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The document was classified and forgotten, a relic of a time when fear and paranoia seemed to justify the unthinkable. Yet the names and organizations involved serve as a reminder of the potential for power to be misused, even within the highest levels of government and military. It underlines the necessity for oversight, checks and balances, and public vigilance in the realm of national security. The Operation Northwoods document was declassified and made available to the public in 1997 as part of the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992. The document's release was largely overshadowed by the media's focus on the assassination. Still, its existence and the ideas it proposed have since become a subject of intense debate among historians, researchers, and enthusiasts of covert operations. Painstakingly analyzing the document, one can't help but notice several redactions, even in this declassified version. These blacked-out sections fuel speculation about what kind of information remains hidden from the public eye. It's a tantalizing puzzle for those who believe there's more to the story than what can be plainly seen. The document details multiple scenarios that the U.S. military could stage, including terrorist attacks on U.S. soil that would be blamed on Cuba. These included hijacking or shooting down commercial planes, sinking boats of Cuban refugees, and even orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. The objective was to create an atmosphere of fear and national outrage that would justify military intervention in Cuba. However, the document also contains contradictions that further muddy the waters. One such discrepancy is the document's mention of friendly Cubans, which is left unexplained. Who were these friendly Cubans? Were they U.S. operatives, Cuban exiles, or double agents? This vague phrasing leaves room for a multitude of interpretations, each with its own implications. Further adding to the enigma are the contradictory statements concerning casualty rates. In one part of the document it states, "Our military forces would respond rapidly and efficiently to rescue all survivors," while in another section it mentions that the simulated attacks could result in large-scale United States military operations. The contradiction between a swift rescue operation and large-scale military response adds another layer of mystery to the proposal. The Operation Northwoods document is a chilling testament to a time when the Cold War brought the world to the brink of disaster. It's a stark reminder of the lengths some were willing to go to justify their objectives. Even now, decades after its declassification, the document continues to provoke questions and fuel debate. The redactions, contradictions, and ominous proposals contained within its pages serve as a stark reminder of the covert side of history, a side that often remains hidden in plain sight. Despite the gravity of the proposal detailed in Operation Northwoods, the media attention it received was relatively sparse when the document was first declassified in 1997. It was only when investigative journalist James Bamford highlighted it in his 2001 book, Body of Secrets, that the proposal started to receive significant attention from broader audiences. This book, which delved into the history of the National Security Agency, brought Operation Northwoods to the fore, prompting a wave of outrage and disbelief. Journalists and researchers further amplified the story, creating a ripple effect that led to widespread public awareness. The topic soon permeated popular culture, appearing in various forms of media, including books, documentaries, and even fiction. For instance, the 2006 novel The Good Shepherd by C.S. Forester and its subsequent film adaptation, starring Matt Damon, featured a plotline directly inspired by Operation Northwoods. Yet, as is often the case with such revelations, there were also attempts to downplay or dismiss the significance of the plan. Some officials and commentators sought to frame the proposal as a mere theoretical exercise, emphasizing that it was ultimately rejected by Kennedy's administration. Others suggested that such extreme measures were a reflection of the tense geopolitical climate of the time, rather than a genuine intent to deceive the American public. However, these narratives were not universally accepted. Many questioned the seeming lack of accountability for those involved in drafting the proposal. The fact that the document remained classified for over 35 years in itself raised questions about transparency and the potential for similar undisclosed operations. As time passed, the Operation Northwoods narrative continued to evolve. Some researchers began to highlight parallels between the proposal and other controversial incidents, such as the Gulf of Tonkin incident that escalated U.S. involvement in Vietnam. Others drew connections between the proposal's tactics and more recent allegations of false flag operations. The proposal has thus become a touchstone in discussions about government deception and manipulation, its significance stretching far beyond its Cold War origins. Operation Northwoods remains a potent symbol of the potentially dark underbelly of governmental operations, a chilling reminder of the lengths to which some elements within power structures may be willing to go. Its revelations continue to reverberate, shaping public understanding of covert operations and fueling ongoing debates about governmental transparency and accountability. On the other side of the spectrum, skeptics and experts have come forward with analysis and interpretations that challenge certain assumptions about Operation Northwoods. Critics argue that the document must be examined within its historical context to avoid misinterpretation. The height of the Cold War was a time of great tension and paranoia, and many military strategists were brainstorming worst-case scenarios. The proposal, they argue, was perhaps one of many contingency plans that never saw the light of day. Some experts also caution against jumping to conclusions about the proposal's implications. They point out that the document was part of a larger brainstorming process, and that it is important to remember that the plan was never approved or implemented. Furthermore, the document itself does not suggest that the operation was intended to be carried out covertly or deceptively. Instead, it appears to have been presented as a straightforward military operation, albeit one with significant potential for collateral damage and ethical complications. Others have suggested that the emphasis on Operation Northwoods may be misplaced, and that concentrating on it may distract from more pressing concerns. While the proposal undoubtedly raises unsettling questions about the lengths to which military strategists may be willing to go in times of crisis, it is also important to remember that it was never put into action. In terms of the alleged parallels with other incidents, skeptics argue that drawing direct connections between Operation Northwoods and events like the Gulf of Tonkin incident or more recent allegations of false flag operations is speculative at best. Without concrete evidence linking these events, they caution that such theories risk veering into the realm of conspiracy. Nonetheless, these alternate views do not entirely quell the questions surrounding Operation Northwoods. The proposal's very existence, no matter its initial intent or the context in which it was created, undeniably reveals a willingness to consider extreme measures in the pursuit of geopolitical objectives. Whether or not it was ever intended to be implemented, its legacy continues to spark debate, fuel speculation, and provoke concern. What remains clear, however, is that Operation Northwoods, regardless of its original intent or subsequent interpretation, has become a symbol of the potential for governmental deception. Whether viewed as a chilling example of military strategy gone rogue, or as a cautionary tale about the dangers of taking such documents out of context, its influence on public discourse continues to be felt. Its legacy lingers, a testament to the enduring fascination with the shadowy world of covert operations and clandestine agendas. In the world of espionage, covert operations, and clandestine agendas, Operation Northwoods is far from an isolated incident. Indeed, the annals of history are replete with instances where governments have engaged in or considered deceptive tactics in the pursuit of their objectives. Whether these bear a direct correlation to Operation Northwoods or are simply instances of similar strategic thinking is up for debate. Nevertheless, it's worth examining a few. One such incident is Operation Gladio, a clandestine NATO project during the Cold War. This operation was intended to establish secret stay-behind armies in Western Europe as a contingency against a potential Soviet invasion. However, allegations have since surfaced that these secret armies may have been involved in orchestrating domestic terror and political events to manipulate public opinion. Another case worth examining is that of the Gulf of Tonkin incident in 1964 that led to the escalation of the Vietnam War. Initial reports suggested that North Vietnamese forces had launched an unprovoked attack on the U.S. Navy, but later investigations would reveal that the events may have been misrepresented or even deliberately distorted. Then there's the case of the USS Maine, an American naval ship that exploded and sank in Havana Harbor in 1898, precipitating the Spanish-American War. Despite the lack of clear evidence pointing to Spanish involvement, the incident was used as a pretext for war, with the rallying cry, "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain." These incidents, among others, highlight a recurring pattern where strategic deception or manipulation of public sentiment is employed to achieve political or military objectives. The insidious nature of these tactics lies in their ability to shift public perception and influence national policy, often at the cost of truth and transparency. In this context, Operation Northwoods finds its place within a broader tapestry of covert operations and military stratagems. While the operation itself was never implemented, its existence underscores the potential for such tactics and raises questions about the ethical implications of their use. The question then becomes not whether such operations exist or have been considered, but rather how they are perceived and scrutinized when they come to light. The revelations of Operation Northwoods, Operation Gladio, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and the sinking of the USS Maine serve as reminders of the lengths to which governments may be willing to go in the pursuit of their objectives, and the necessity for vigilance and scrutiny in our quest for truth. Despite being more than half a century old, Operation Northwoods continues to hold relevance today, not merely as a relic of Cold War-era strategy, but as a stark illustration of how far state actors may consider going in the pursuit of geopolitical objectives. In recent years, further declassification of documents associated with the operation, along with advances in technology and the evolving geopolitical landscape, have shed new light on the proposal, its context, and its potential implications. The digital age and the advent of online archives have made once confidential documents more accessible than ever before. The implications of this cannot be overstated. It allows for continual re-evaluation and reinterpretation of historical events, and in the case of Operation Northwoods, has provided greater insight into the details of this clandestine plan. The Internet has given rise to a new generation of citizen researchers who, armed with these declassified documents, have painted a more detailed picture of the operation and its place within the broader context of Cold War strategy. In 2017, a trove of documents related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy was declassified. Among them were files that hinted at a deeper understanding of Operation Northwoods. While the documents did not fundamentally alter our understanding of the proposal, they did provide further evidence of the extent to which false flag operations were considered viable options during this turbulent period. The world stage has also evolved dramatically since the days of Operation Northwoods. The rise of terrorism and the ongoing threat of global conflict have made the idea of false flag operations more relevant than ever. While we'd like to believe that such tactics are a thing of the past, the reality is they remain a viable tool in the arsenal of statecraft, wielded by global powers to further their strategic objectives. In the shadow of these realities, Operation Northwoods continues to resonate. Its existence serves as a potent reminder of the lengths to which governments may go to achieve their objectives. It underscores the importance of transparency, accountability, and the ongoing quest for truth in a world increasingly beset by misinformation and propaganda. In the end, the mystery surrounding Operation Northwoods persists. The full extent of its implications, the depth of its reach, and the breadth of its influence remain elusive. What is clear, however, is the need for ongoing vigilance and inquiry as we continue to grapple with the ethical, political, and historical implications of these clandestine operations. The narrative of Operation Northwoods highlights a constant theme in the human quest for power, the blurring of ethical boundaries under the guise of national security. It presents a stark reminder of the constant struggle to discern the line between protecting national interests and preserving the fundamental principles of truth and integrity. The existence of such a proposal within official government archives, however clandestine its origin, prompts us to question the lengths to which those in power may be willing to go to shape public perception and manipulate global narratives. In a world where the digital age has made information more accessible than ever, it can be easy to forget the importance of skepticism and critical thinking. The Internet, with its wealth of information, has the potential to both enlighten and deceive. Operation Northwoods serves as a stark reminder of this paradox. It is a testament to the need for vigilance and critical thinking in an era where truth can be as elusive as it is accessible. Despite its chilling implications, Operation Northwoods also offers a beacon of hope. Its unearthing and subsequent public dissemination stands as a testament to humanity's unyielding pursuit of truth, no matter how uncomfortable. It underscores the power of collective vigilance and the importance of holding those in power accountable. Each declassified document, each revelation, is a victory for transparency, a triumph for truth, a step towards a world where secrecy and manipulation are relics of a bygone era. As we reflect on the narrative of Operation Northwoods, we are reminded of the inherent complexities of power and secrecy. We are faced with the harsh reality of the lengths to which governments may go in the pursuit of their strategic objectives. Yet we also witness the enduring human spirit, the relentless pursuit of truth, and the power of collective vigilance. The tale of Operation Northwoods is a potent reminder of the fragility of truth in a world of power and secrecy. It serves as a call to arms for each of us, a call to vigilance, to skepticism, and to the relentless pursuit of truth. For it is only through such relentless pursuit that we can hope to keep the powers that be in check, to hold them accountable, and to ensure that the narrative of history remains untainted by the shadowy machinations of clandestine operations. Thanks for listening. This has been the Declassified Files. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.